Hi, this is Tim. I had a couple emails earlier today asking about trading after hours compared to the regular session. I wanted to make a video to show the difference in trading in extended hours versus the regular session, the difference between the movements, and how you actually have to adjust your stops and your targets a lot compared to when you're trading the regular session with the volatility. The main thing about after hours that I try to apply is to determine the price structure, and the three primary structures that I have would be channels, types of wedges or pennants, and sideways ranges. So the first thing that I usually look for would be the, let's say on the NASDAQ, the 5-minute chart after hours. I have the current day's high and the current day's low plotted, the green line on top and the red dash line on the bottom. If you look at the structure, you'll see that it's a negative sloping wedge or type of a bear channel to the downside. So the way that I trade that is to short the highs and buy the lows. Now there's going to be differences in let's say a higher percentage chance that I might buy the lows rather than short the highs in a bear channel, and that's only going to be during market conditions when there's technicals on a longer term agreeing with fundamentals for the day. So to give you an example, I have my trend lines plotted on all of my charts. So when I draw one trend line on a single chart, it goes through onto all of the other charts for that instrument. First thing I do is I take the highest swing high during the session and connect it to the following major swing high, and I basically draw on the chart as the structure develops. So I had two positions after hours I wanted to highlight. Was buying basically seller failure right here, and then buying seller failure right here. The reason that I bought the seller failure as opposed to, or bought the lows as opposed to shorting the lows, because of recognizing that seller failure. More typical trade of mine actually is to short those levels. So shorting below the low of the day and shorting below the low of the day right there. But the price structure has to agree with that specific trade. If it doesn't, I do the opposite. So both of these positions had a risk of between 1 and 1.5 points on the trade, and what I do is I get out at the level of resistance or around the trend line. So entering here for at 1550, exiting at 1650, and then actually rather than sitting through these waves, I take my profit and I look for re-entry patiently, and I actually got out with that position at the same level. Now, as you see here, this is pretty interesting. This is the minor trend line that I was exiting at, and what happens is you have another major trend line where if you were trading two contracts, I would be taking profit at this trend line, or if you had one contract with a wider target, it would be around these levels that I would be taking profit at. Now, the whole thing with after hours is you want to take your money, get out, and patiently wait for the next setup. So you don't want to just sit on this position and hope that it goes back to the highs of the day. You want to take your profit, wait for the pullbacks, and re-enter on the seller failure. So I'm actually finished trading for after hours. I'm going to be going into tomorrow's regular session with a small profit, and the structure usually overnight will develop pretty nicely to kind of give you some framework for the regular session. Or if you're trading early in the morning, you'll see all these movements after hours, and you'll be able to get a sense of how to trade that certain structure, because the key is to know what's going on and know how to trade it. Like I said, my main trade is actually this shorting these lows, but you have to know when that trade is applicable. And the way that I look at it is, if that trade isn't applicable, the opposite should be applicable. And for both of those positions, it was. So if you guys have any more questions about trading after hours, just send me an email, and I'll do videos on whatever anybody has any questions on or wants to know a little bit more about. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to making another one.